Frankly, it was such a bitter campaign between these two candidates.
Mr. Yoon is a self-proclaimed anti-feminist.
5 years down the road, people found that Moon did not deliver most of his promises.
일간 소울 영어입니다.
Frankly, it was such a bitter campaign between these two candidates. Many South Koreans spoke of the fact that neither of these two blokes were particularly likeable. Neither of these two blokes were particularly likeable. There was a very high turnout, but some people were saying that they were casting a ballot not so much because they support their candidate, but rather they don't want to see the other guy win. That gives you an idea of just how bitter and divided it was.
Indeed. Bill, what is it going to mean in terms of the approach to North Korea, which continues to, launch its missiles and pursue its nuclear ambitions?
Well, Soon Yuk-seol was very critical of the past 5 years of the Moon Jae-in government, which was very much a government trying to have dialogue with North Korea. And so he has said that he will not allow South Korea's entire foreign policy in the region to be dictated by its North Korea policy. What he means by that is he's felt that that sort of approach to Pyongyang has affected South Korea's stance towards China, towards its alliance with the United States.
Exit polls put them within a percentage point of each other, and so began a sleepless night for many in South Korea following local broadcasters' animated depiction of this epic struggle until Yoon emerged as winner. A political newcomer, he first came to prominence as a lead prosecutor in the imprisonment of disgraced former President Park Geun-hye following her impeachment for corruption 5 years ago. He's also promised a much tougher line with North Korea, but many question how much of that is campaign rhetoric. Many question how much of that is campaign rhetoric.
History was made this week in South Korea's presidential election. For the first time in its democratic history, the ruling party failed to win back-to-back terms. The ruling party failed to win back-to-back terms. It was a very tight race indeed. What was it, you think, that got Mr. Yoon over the finish line first?
The difference between the two of them is just 0.7%. This election is widely thought as an election to cast judgment on the incumbent Moon Jae-in government. And a lot of people have been very unhappy with the Moon government. 5 years down the road, people found that Moon did not deliver most of his promises, and now they want change to the other party. He has talked about deploying a second anti-missile system, THAAD, which, the first one that was deployed in 2016 really made China very angry, and they embarked on this economic retaliation against South Korea, which caused it to lose, millions and billions in economic gains. If he were to push through this again, I think the country might face the same hardships as before.
And elections have concluded in South Korea too. The country has a new president now. His name is Yoon Suk-yeol, a former public attorney and a political newcomer with conservative political views. Mr. Yoon is a self-proclaimed anti-feminist. Mr. Yoon is a self-proclaimed anti-feminist. He wants to abolish South Korea's Ministry of Gender Equality. He's also said to be hawkish on foreign policy. He plans to adopt a tougher line against North Korea. He wants to counter China's growing influence in the region.
They were both seen as unlikely frontrunners. In fact, voters appeared so disenchanted that this poll was dubbed an election of the unfavorables. A public prosecutor for 27 years, a job where he even convicted a former president, Park Geun-hye, who was charged with abuse of power in 2017. The conviction made Yoon rise to prominence. He began to be viewed as a presidential candidate. He was compared with Donald Trump, another outsider who became president. He actively courted votes among anti-feminists, promised to raise penalties for falsely reporting sex crimes, vowed to abolish South Korea's Ministry of Gender Equality, and blamed low birth rates on the rise of the feminist movement. These conservative views and policies seem to have worked in Yoon's favor. They also show how bitterly divided South Korean politics has become.
구독과 좋아요 눌러주세요.